At 62, I, Sally, stand the threshold of another birthday, reflecting on a life filled with both joy and sorrow. My existence has been shaped by humble beginnings, having left formal education after junior high school to dedicate myself to work and raising my two sons, Tom and Tyler. Now, as the years have gracefully accumulated, I find myself navigating the complexities of family dynamics, particularly with my eldest son's wife, Mary, whose disdainful attitude has tested my patience for far too long. 5 years ago, the sudden loss of my beloved husband left me adrift in a sea of grief. Yet, with the unwavering support of those around me, I found the strength to carry on. I took over my husband's modest business, managing it with care despite occasional challenges. The work, though demanding, brings me a quiet satisfaction, a testament to my resilience. However, a persistent shadow looms over my contentment, Mary's relentless contempt. Mary, married to my eldest son, Tom, embodies a haughty disposition, her pride rooted in her elite education and prestigious corporate career. She measures people's worth by their academic credentials and professional status, and to her, I am little more than a poor widow scraping by on a pension, unworthy of respect. Her arrogance has grown bolder over time, manifesting in unannounced visits to my home, where she demands meals or subtly requests money behind Tom's back. Tom, gentle and soft-spoken like his late father, holds a management position at a restaurant chain, ensuring their financial stability. Yet, Mary's behavior persists, and though I endure it for Tom's sake, each encounter chips away at my heart. This morning, as I prepared for my birthday, a knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. "Hello, I have a delivery for you," announced the carrier, presenting a vibrant floral arrangement and a sealed envelope. The flowers, a cascade of roses and lilies, bore a card inscribed with "Happy Birthday" for my second son, Tyler. A smile warmed my face as I considered Ariana, Tyler's considerate wife of 1 year, who likely orchestrated this thoughtful gesture. Tyler, with his carefree and kind-hearted nature, married Ariana, a woman whose firmness is tempered by genuine warmth. They live an hour's drive away, but visit often, inviting me on outings and checking on my well-being. I dialed Ariana to express my gratitude. "Happy birthday, Sally," her cheerful voice greeted me. "I heard you love flowers, and I hope these brighten your day. Stay well, and I can't wait to see you soon." Her sincerity touched me deeply, and I thought to myself how fortunate Tyler is to have such a compassionate partner. The sealed envelope, however, stirred a different emotion. The sender's name was Tom, my eldest son. Inside was a simple birthday card, an unexpected gesture given Tom's reserved nature. I knew instantly that Mary must have arranged it, as Tom rarely initiates such acts. Despite my reservations, I decided to thank her. Picking up the phone, I braced myself and called. "Hello," Mary answered curtly. "I'm exhausted from work, so please make it quick." I steadied my voice. "Mary, I received the birthday card you sent. I just wanted to thank you for the thoughtful gesture." "Oh, you got it? Good," she replied dismissively. "By the way, there's a family dinner party coming up, isn't there? Sally, please dress appropriately so I'm not embarrassed." Without a single word of birthday congratulations, she hung up, leaving me to sigh at her predictable rudeness. Weeks later, the occasion for the dinner party arrived, a celebration for my niece, a cherished cousin to Tom and Tyler, who was introducing her new husband to the family. Opting for an intimate gathering over a formal wedding, she chose a luxurious restaurant nestled in a serene courtyard. I arrived early with Tyler and Ariana, the warm spring breeze complementing the elegant setting. Ariana, radiant in a traditional kimono, admired the venue. "This place is stunning, Sally. Your dress is perfect for this courtyard," she said, her eyes sparkling with appreciation. I chuckled. It's a special occasion after all. I wish I'd worn a kimono too, but this old dress will have to do. Tyler teased. "Oh, come on, Mom. I can't afford to buy you a fancy kimono for a place like this." As we laughed, Tom and Mary arrived, late as usual. Mary's eyes scanned me critically. "Well, You actually dressed decently for once, she remarked, her tone dripping with condescension. Tom attempted to intervene, but Mary's displeasure was unmistakable. Ignoring her jab, I led the way into the restaurant, where 30 relatives had gathered. Many approached to greet me warmly, their affection a balm to my spirit. From a distance, I overheard Mary whisper to Tom, "She's so well-liked, isn't she?" Probably out of pity. Her words stung, but I chose to focus on the joy of the occasion, taking my seat as the dinner began. The restaurant, though situated in a rural area, surprised us with its exquisite cuisine and fine sake selection. Mary, indulging in dish after dish and sipping sake, commented loudly, "This place was featured in a magazine. Not bad for a countryside spot." Her voice carried a mix of approval and arrogance, as if her judgment validated the venue's worth. As the evening unfolded, I reflected on the stark contrast between Mary's disdain and Ariana's kindness. Mary's words from years past echoed in my mind. "This place doesn't suit you, a middle school graduate. It's embarrassing for you to be here, a poor woman living on a pension. I don't want anything to do with you, so why don't you leave?" Those cruel remarks had ignited a fire within me, a resolve to stand firm despite her scorn. Ariana's pale face that day, as she interrupted Mary's tirade, lingered in my memory. Oh, Mary, don't tell me you don't know. The dinner continued peacefully, the clinking of glasses and murmur of conversation filling the air. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed the weight of unspoken tensions. Mary's arrogance, though momentarily subdued by the festivities, remained a thorn in my side. As I watched my niece and her husband share their happiness, I vowed to cherish the love of those who truly valued me, Tyler, Ariana, and my extended family, while navigating the challenges posed by Mary's unrelenting pride. The air in the luxurious restaurant hummed with a celebratory mood as we gathered to honor my niece's marriage. The courtyard, adorned with twinkling lights and blooming cherry blossoms, set a serene backdrop for the occasion. My niece, radiant with joy, stood beside her new husband, a man whose steady demeanor and kind eyes suggested a solid character. As relatives mingled, their laughter and warm greetings filled the space, creating an atmosphere of unity until Mary, my eldest son's wife, shattered the harmony with her unrelenting arrogance. During a lull in the conversation, a cousin turned to my niece's husband, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "I heard you graduated from the University of K and work for a renowned bank." "That's impressive," she remarked, her tone warm with admiration. He nodded modestly, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. "Yes, I'm grateful to my parents for supporting my education. It's been a challenging but rewarding journey," he replied, his voice steady yet tinged with humility. The exchange seemed harmless, but Mary seized the moment to thrust herself into the spotlight. "K University? That's decent," she interjected, though no one had addressed her. "I graduated from W University, and I'm a chief executive at a major corporation." Her voice, loud and self-assured, carried across the table, drawing uneasy glances from the relatives. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with the need to boast about her elite education and prestigious career. Tom, my eldest son, shifted uncomfortably beside her. "Mary, please," he murmured, his soft-spoken nature clashing with her audacity, but she waved him off, undeterred. Unfazed by the awkward silence, Mary pressed on, her tone dripping with condescension. "In this day and age, academic credentials are everything, aren't they? A degree from a top university opens doors to success." She paused, scanning the table as if daring anyone to disagree. My niece's husband, maintaining his composure, responded firmly yet politely. "I don't entirely agree. Respectable people come from all walks of life, regardless of their academic background. Character and hard work matter just as much." His words, measured and sincere, hung in the air, but Mary was far from finished. "Oh, please," she scoffed, swirling her sake glass. "Someone from K University should understand that there's a certain sophistication only educated people grasp. Those without degrees, well, they're just lower level, aren't they?" Her gaze flicked toward me, a smirk playing on her lips, as if I were the perfect example of her point. The table fell silent. My niece's husband blinked, visibly taken aback by her brazenness. Ariana, my second son's wife, clutched her napkin, her face paling, while Tom stared at Mary as if she were a stranger. Murmurs rippled among the relatives, some exchanging shocked glances, others glaring at Mary's audacity. "You've had too much to drink, Mary," Tom said, his voice strained, desperation creeping into his tone. Ariana nodded, her eyes pleading. "Yes, maybe you should step outside for a moment." But Mary, emboldened by the sake and her own arrogance, ignored them. "Sally, you know what I mean, don't you?" she asked, turning to me with a mocking smile. Her words were a deliberate jab, and I braced myself, sensing the venom she was about to unleash. I met her gaze, my voice calm but firm. "I don't know, Mary. You've had quite a bit to drink. Why don't you get some fresh air?" The suggestion was polite, but my patience was wearing thin, a quiet resolve building within me. Her eyes narrowed, irritation flashing across her face. "What's the matter with you? I'm being harsh? You, a junior high school graduate, telling me to leave? I'm a college-educated executive." Her voice rose, drawing the attention of nearby staff, who paused mid-service to watch the unfolding drama. Tom reached for her arm. "Mary, that's enough," he snapped, but I caught his eye and shook my head subtly. The time for silence had passed. Years of enduring her insults, her disdain for my education, my work, my very existence, had reached a boiling point. If she wanted a confrontation, I was ready. "Mary," I said, my voice steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "If you have something to say, why don't you say it clearly?" She laughed, a sharp, derisive sound that echoed in the stunned silence. "Fine, since you insist," she sneered, standing to command the room's attention. "If I were you, Sally, I'd be too ashamed to show my face among relatives. A middle school graduate with no qualifications? It's pathetic. You've barely worked since your husband died, living off a pension at 62, when people at my company are thriving as elite managers well into their 70s. Her words sliced through the air, each one a calculated blow. The relatives gasped, my niece's face crumpling with dismay, her husband's jaw tightening. Even the restaurant staff froze, their trays forgotten, as Mary reveled in her tirade. "You didn't even go to high school, let alone a prestigious university. No qualifications, no career, just a poor, unemployed widow. Don't you see how pitiful that is? I'd never let myself become an ant like you, scraping by while I run a department at a top firm." The room seemed to hold its breath, the weight of her cruelty pressing down on us all. Then, she delivered her final venomous strike. "A middle school graduate like you doesn't belong in a place like this. It's embarrassing. You're a poor pensioner, and I want nothing to do with you. Why don't you just leave?" Her words ignited a fire within me, a surge of rage I could no longer contain. My nose stung, tears threatening to spill, but I refused to let them fall. The arrogant attitude I'd tolerated for years, her insults, her mockery, her dismissal of my worth, flooded my mind, fueling my resolve. I opened my mouth to respond, my voice trembling with fury. "Mary, you need to listen." But before I could finish, Ariana, her face ashen, interrupted with a trembling voice. "Oh, Mary, don't tell me you don't know." Mary's smirk faltered, confusion flickering in her eyes. "Know what?" she demanded, glancing around at the relatives. Some wore bitter expressions, others radiated anger, and a few stared at her with outright contempt. Tom, his head bowed, pressed a hand to his eyes, as if wishing to disappear. "What are you talking about?" Mary snapped, her confidence wavering. Ariana's voice, though soft, carried a steely edge. "Sally is the owner of this restaurant." A stunned silence enveloped the room, the weight of the revelation sinking in. Mary's laughter broke the quiet, sharp and disbelieving. "Don't make me laugh." "What are you saying?" she scoffed, her eyes darting to Tom for confirmation. Before Tom could speak, the restaurant's chief manager, a loyal employee who'd worked with me for years, rushed to my side, his face flushed with indignation. "Boss, are you all right?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Turning to Mary, he continued, his tone fierce. "Sally is an extraordinary woman. She's supported this restaurant through countless challenges, helped every one of us here, and built this place into what it is today. Do you have any idea what you're saying?" The staff, who had quietly resumed their duties, nodded in agreement, their loyalty to me unmistakable. Mary's face drained of color, her bravado crumbling as the truth settled over the room like a heavy fog. She turned to Tom, her voice a whisper. "Tom, is this true?" Tom's silence, his slumped shoulders, spoke volumes. The relatives, my niece, her husband, all watched as Mary's world unraveled, her arrogance exposed in the face of my quiet strength. The restaurant, aglow with the warmth of celebration, had become a battleground of words, with Mary's venomous tirade against my lack of education and status still echoing in the stunned silence. Her final demand, that I, a middle school graduate, leave the gathering, had ignited a fire within me. But before I could respond, Ariana's revelation that I owned this very establishment had left Mary reeling, her arrogance crumbling. Now, as the truth hung heavy in the air, the room braced for what would come next. Mary's laughter, sharp and incredulous, shattered the quiet. "What?" "That's absurd," she scoffed, her eyes darting to Tom, my eldest son, for confirmation. "Tom, tell them this is nonsense." Tom's shoulders slumped, his face a mask of resignation. "It's true, Mary," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom and Dad started this restaurant. She took it over after he passed, but it was tough for her to run alone, so she let someone else manage it under her name. She's still the owner." Mary's jaw dropped, her confidence unraveling. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded, her voice rising with a mix of anger and humiliation. Tom's eyes flashed with rare defiance. "Because I knew you'd say something foolish, like trying to claim the restaurant or the property for yourself. I wanted to protect Mom, who was grieving after Dad's death. And frankly, the moment you learned she only graduated junior high, you dismissed her. You never cared to know the truth." Mary's face reddened, but she pressed on, grasping at straws. "How could a junior high graduate run a place like this? It's probably failing, isn't it? Even her house is old and run down." "She's poor, Tom." Tyler, my second son, stepped forward, his usual carefree demeanor replaced by a steely resolve. "You're wrong, Mary. Mom chooses simplicity. That old house is filled with memories of Dad. But she also owns a condominium near the station and other properties she and Dad bought together. Honestly, I'd wager she earns more than you do." The relatives gasped, their eyes shifting between Mary's stunned expression and my quiet composure. "What?" "That's impossible," Mary sputtered, her voice trembling with disbelief. "Enough." A calm, authoritative voice cut through the chaos. Standing at the edge of the table was a man, elegantly dressed in a tailored suit, his presence commanding yet understated. He was a cousin of my late husband, only slightly older than me, and a figure of quiet influence among the family. Mary's eyes narrowed as she prepared to retort. "What's it to you, old man? Who do you think you are?" But as her gaze met his, her face drained of color, recognition dawning with a sickening jolt. No way. Executive director?" The man nodded, his expression stern. "I'm the managing director at your company, Mary. I had no idea one of our relatives was such a problematic employee. Your reputation precedes you, criticizing colleagues, treating subordinates differently based on their education. It's caused significant issues in projects, and now I see it's even worse outside the office, given how you've treated Sally." Mary swayed, her bravado collapsing as if the air had been sucked from the room. "Please, Executive Director, I didn't mean," she began, but he raised a hand, silencing her. "Your behavior here, insulting a respected family member, reflects poorly on you and the company," he continued, his voice unwavering. "I'll ensure this incident is thoroughly investigated. Expect a report that may lead to demotion or worse." "No, please," Mary pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice, but Tom grabbed her shoulders, his face a storm of anger and shame. "Stop it, Mary," he said, his voice low but firm. "If you'd been honest with me from the start, none of this would have happened. You've ruined everything." Then, in a moment that stunned the room, he added, "I want a divorce. You've disrespected my mother, who raised us with nothing but love and hard work. You've disrupted this celebration and embarrassed yourself at work. I can't stay with you after this." Tears welled in my eyes, a mix of sorrow and relief, as Tyler's arms steadied me and Ariana drew me into a comforting embrace. Mary, her face crimson with rage, lashed out, "This is ridiculous. Everyone's defending this middle-aged woman? A divorce? A demotion? You're all delusional." The executive director's voice remained steady. "You've overstayed your welcome, Mary. You should leave." My niece, her voice firm despite the emotion in her eyes, echoed his sentiment. "This is a special day for us and Aunt Sally's family. You've ruined enough. Please go." Stunned into silence, Mary stumbled out of the restaurant, escorted by a staff member, her pride in tatters. Tom bowed deeply to the relatives. "I'm so sorry for my wife's behavior," he said, his voice heavy with regret. My niece rubbed my arm, her smile warm and reassuring. "Don't worry, Aunt Sally. We love you, and soon she won't be your daughter-in-law anymore." Ariana leaned close, whispering, "I respect you so much, Sally. You're incredible." Tom turned to me, his eyes glistening. "Mom, I'm sorry for everything. I can't believe it came to this, but I'm done with her. From now on, I'll be a better son, I promise." His hand on my shoulder felt like a bridge rebuilt after years of strain. The dinner resumed, the tension gradually easing as laughter and conversation filled the air once more. We celebrated my niece's marriage with renewed warmth, the shadow of Mary's outburst fading like a bad dream. Months later, the aftermath unfolded. Tom and Mary divorced, her attempts to secure alimony through family court failing after her problematic behavior came to light. The executive director's investigation revealed Mary's toxic conduct at work. Her obsession with educational pedigree had alienated colleagues and undermined projects. She was transferred to a small branch office in a distant prefecture, a demotion in all but name. Then came an unexpected gift. Tom, who had thrived in his career at a restaurant chain, announced his decision to take over our family restaurant. I'd never pressured my sons to inherit the business, wanting them to chase their own dreams, but the thought of handing over the place my husband and I had built to someone outside the family had always carried a quiet sadness. Tom's eyes shone with determination as he spoke. "This restaurant is filled with you and Dad's love and passion. I always wanted to take it over, but I doubted I could handle it, so I chose a safer path. But seeing how much your staff adore you, how you've kept this place alive, I know I want to protect it. I want to make you proud." Tears streamed down my cheeks as I embraced him. "Tom, thank you. It won't be easy. You have much to learn, but I'll guide you every step of the way. Let's do this together." The following year, on my 63rd birthday, I stood outside my home, the spring breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers. Tom, now training diligently at the restaurant, waited beside me as a familiar car pulled up. "Sally, happy birthday," Ariana called, her voice brimming with joy. Tyler stepped out, carefully lifting a tiny bundle from the back seat, a beautiful baby, their newborn son. "Meet your grandson," Tyler said, his grin wide as he placed the child in my arms. Ariana beamed. "We're a family of 3 now, Sally. You're a grandmother." My heart swelled with a love I hadn't known was possible. As I cradled my grandson, Tom's hand rested on my shoulder. "I'm ready to take over the restaurant in earnest this year, Mom. I want to serve our family celebrations with the best food, just like you and Dad did." The restaurant, once a symbol of my resilience, now promised a new chapter of legacy and love. As I looked at Tom, his chef's apron a testament to his growth, I allowed myself a quiet hope that he might find someone new, someone worthy of his gentle heart, to share this journey. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribe for more.